Through art, I will serve our country. Jess's laugh says she knows what part of the movie that comes from. Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original post-Scream slasher movie from 1997. So it stars Ryan Philippine, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar herself, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Is that it's basically set over Memorial Day weekend, or at least the start of the movie is. You've got these high school kids who have just graduated. They're sort of thinking about what they're going to be doing in the future. And then one night they hit somebody on the road, a stranger, and they believe that person might be dead. They leave him for dead. It turns out that he's not dead, potentially. And then a year later, we pick up with their lives, and someone is stalking them saying, I know what you did last summer. There's going to be a new movie in the franchise coming out later in the year, July, I believe. So over the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to be covering the franchise on the channel. So you've got the 3 original movies. You've got that terrible TV series, which Amazon did a few years ago, which I did cover a little bit of on the channel. So you can see me suffer through some of that on the channel. But I'm back here with Jess and Alyssa to talk about the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, always a good time.
Okay, so I've given the setup. So we'll do what we did last time, where we'll go around and we'll give some early thoughts about what we think of the actual movie, and then we'll get into more particular scenes after that. So I'll go with Jess this time. I'm pretty sure I went with Alyssa last time first. So
oh no, I'm in the hot seat.
You're in the hot seat. Yeah. No. Over to you.
So overall, I think it was pretty decent. It's solid. What is it? Did it come out in the 90s or 2000s? I feel like it was early 2000s.
Late 90s.
Late 90s.
97.
Okay, yeah. This one doesn't like punch you in the face with 90s like a few of the other movies we've seen and reviewed before. So that was kind of nice. I feel like it aged fairly well. Overall, not too bad. They did have some jump scares, which I feel like weren't necessarily warranted, but they do an all right job trying to redirect the who did it, and it's this person. No, we think it's this person. No, it was definitely this person. And going back and forth, I feel like they tried to do it a bit too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But overall, it was fairly solid. I've got a few issues with it that we'll get into a bit later, but
sure.
But all in all, it's not bad. I'd probably give it about a 7 out of 10.
Okay, let's see what Alyssa thinks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with most of what Jess said. I feel like I maybe got punched in the face with 90s a little bit harder, but like I could definitely tell that this was a 90s movie.
Say so.
But it's got a really solid cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they do tension and build up really well. I won't go into too much depth with the things I specifically like that they did, but it's just a very solid movie. And it's like with how horror is done nowadays, it was almost like fresh air to like go back and like see how they did horror back in the 90s. But it's like this movie is just the right balance where it's like it's not like it's definitely tropey, but it's not like, I don't know, it's like it just does it in a way that I didn't feel like it was gimmicky. It just felt like, here's a different scenario that we're telling. And I don't know. I don't feel like a whole lot of movies, at least at that time, had done that kind of like specifically like that type of situation before. So I don't know. It's just I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, as far as like rating, I'd say like 7 out of 10 was.
We're on the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
wavelength because I was actually about to interject. Yeah, it wasn't quite as gimmicky. as
Yeah,
some
like
others
you
of
don't
the
watch
time.
it and like roll your eyes.
We're doing the ratings at the beginning. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, that's what we're used to.
flipping it around. No, that's true. Anyone who's seen their channel would know that. Okay, well, I definitely have, although I agree with some of what you said, I definitely have a more negative opinion on this movie. So, you know how there are some movies where you have nostalgia for them, and because I was a teen when this came out, showing my age, so I do remember this one very well. And sometimes when you come back to the movie years later, I mean, the nostalgia can carry it a big way, and like it still holds up because of that, or you can at least overlook stuff.
Oh yeah, the nostalgia glasses are real.
Yeah, well, absolutely, but I don't think this is one of those movies. I don't think this movie really holds up particularly well. I'm going to talk a bit about the novel later on, obviously, but it just happens to be based on a novel. I think the real reason it came out when it did was because it was on the wave of the Scream momentum, and it's one of those post-Scream horror movies, a bit like Urban Legend as well. Right. And you had a movie like Valentine a bit later on. And this is very much in the same sort of mold. And I do think in many ways it's a bit of a rinse and repeat of Scream, because it does take a lot of the core elements where there's a little bit of a murder mystery. You've got teen characters. You've got kind of similar character tropes to Scream. You've obviously got a villain like in this case a fisherman, and they really hit you over the head with it. It's in like a fishing town.
Yeah, nothing but fish.
They constantly
everywhere.
remind you of that.
Everything is fish themed, nautical themed.
In fact, it's funny that like Kevin Williamson does the screenplay, because he's also known for Dawson's Creek, which I think that started the year after this, maybe, but season
it was
1
around that same time.
Yeah, but it's just funny that the set and the look of this town does look very similar to Dawson's Creek, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they used the same location. Very CW, like the lead romance feels very CW and melodramatic.
I could see that, yeah.
I don't think they have particularly good chemistry, those two characters. The Ryan Philippine character from the word go is just so OTT and obnoxious. And, you know, him screaming in the balcony and just getting drunk and saying random things. He says some really dumb things in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he was honestly the most forgettable character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Doesn't he have that line about, and this is to the two girls, doesn't he have that line about, have you ever thought of looking in a mirror recently? Like you look like you've been run over or something. It's like, is he blind? I mean, is that some sort of joke? I think they're doing okay in the looks department.
Yeah.
But he just says like random dumb stuff like that, and there's lots of stuff you can kind of make fun of in the movie, which at least gives you some enjoyment. And they're the only people in the balcony at this beauty pageant. It's like, surely that's general admission. Surely there would be other people in the balcony. And then a bit later on, you get that scene, don't you, where his character gets killed off in the balcony.
And he's the only one up there.
He's the only one. Yeah.
Because movie's got a movie.
Yeah, that was convenient.
I wrote it off as it's such a small town that's all the people that they have there.
Or maybe like they just assume that the balcony is like the rowdier part, and like the majority of the townspeople are maybe older and more like chill, and they're like, we don't want to deal with that.
They don't want to break their bones.
Yeah.
Getting up to the Yeah, I mean, I can see how you would maybe prefer to be out on the floor, but it was just funny that they were the only ones up there. Sarah Michelle Gellar character Helen, who they call, is it Mrs. Universe or what do they call her?
Yeah,
like she's got some sort of title.
It's like Miss Universe or something.
Yeah. And my impression is around that small town, she almost becomes like a celebrity, even though
it was just a general beauty pageant. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that true to American culture in small towns?
In small towns, I would say, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say I don't know too much about beauty pageants, but I'm pretty sure that in that small of a town, that wouldn't be the title that they would be giving out.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, that'd be more like a national,
yeah,
type. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been something more along. Honestly, I was confused why it wasn't more of a nautical theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been something more town related.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But from what I've seen is normally beauty pageant winners, they're more they do charity stuff and they kind of use that influence to try and have a positive influence. But that's kind of the extent of my knowledge.
And it can get pretty cutthroat because a lot of them also have scholarships and grants and things attached to them.
Yeah.
Sure. Another thing I wondered, and I'll get your opinion on this, but I think they got the casting a bit backwards. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar should have been the lead in this because she does kind of strike me as a more natural final girl, especially when you think of her in Buffy, and obviously she was in the Grudge movies as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe Jennifer Love Hewitt, I don't mind her too much. She's decent enough, but I just don't see her as a leading actress maybe so much.
I feel like Jennifer Love Hewitt is, and I've seen multiple movies, even Heartbreakers. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard good things about
that, but it's even whenever she's trying to be a stronger character, she still almost comes off as soft spoken. Sarah Michelle Gellar, it really does come up she has a certain presence about her. So I definitely can see I feel like their casting for each of the characters was spot on, but as far as Sarah Michelle Gellar being the final girl, I can definitely see that for sure.
Leaning into the trope of the blonde gets offed and the brunette is the final girl.
Yeah, and then how that character was more about looks, and then Jennifer Love Hewitt's character was more about smarts and stuff, and so the smarts girl has to win. So I can see why they did it.
It was also with the moral or ethical conundrum too in the beginning when they were initially talking about what are we going to do? Do we go to the police? And Sarah Michelle Gellar's was initially saying, yeah, let's contact the police and all, but then she was swayed.
Yeah.
And it became 3-1.
Yeah, and then Jennifer's character was threatened pretty much into submission. So yeah. So I can see I can see either way why one would make a good final girl. But yeah, I feel their choice I can see their logic on why they made her particular character the final.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a bummer because she seemed to have fought the hardest against him. She was
real.
So close to making it.
Yeah.
But maybe and at that time, I'm not familiar with how well known those two actresses, how big their fame was at that time. But I can imagine that, if you were familiar with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt, you're watching this movie and you're who are either of them going to die? And you're probably not because, they're decent, they're good actors or whatever. And then having that shock of one of them getting killed off. But I said, it's I was too young at that time, so I don't know how well they were known. So I don't know if that was actually their intent or not when they did that. It's almost like when it makes me think of when they killed off Drew Barrymore in Scream, you know, because they like had played off, oh, she's going to be the main person. And then they're like, JK.
Buffy started, Buffy was 97, so same year. So I guess maybe at the time she wasn't that
fully
well
launched yet.
Yeah. Jennifer Love Hewitt was in Party at 5, which was quite a big show. So possibly that could be why she got the lead.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, that would have been a bit before this. But yeah, you know, I think the movie overall, like, it feels a bit generic. It feels very cheesy at time. I think the whole gimmick of making him a fisherman is really cheesy. We can talk a bit about
product of the area.
Yeah. Talking about a couple of the other, because you've got the character of Max as well, who becomes a big red herring. And that's the guy out of Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Super young, but yeah.
He's a good actor. I like that actor a lot. He normally plays quite nerdy, creepy characters, doesn't he? But
it's his face. He can't help it.
Yeah. He wasn't long for the movie, sadly. They could have maybe shipped Philippine out and had him have a bigger role, maybe, but never mind, Jen. And it was just so funny, like, they were hitting you over the head with him being the red herring, like him continually slamming the hook into the ice in, like, a really aggressive way.
But then they, like, I don't know, they killed him off so, like, early, too.
They did. And, well, also, like, you kind of have to slam it in there, otherwise you can't get a good hold on it.
I know, it's just the way they cut back to it, like, twice.
Yeah,
I know.
They were doing it
really
to make it seem aggressive. Yeah.
They kept really trying, but, you know, you gotta do that. That's kind of how it works.
But it's like, you know, the fact that they do lean so heavily and, like, inferencing, oh, is he maybe the killer? And then they, like, kill him off right away. I feel like that was a missed opportunity to, like, really kind of, like, milk that a little bit more.
It was.
More drama. More tension.
Yeah, a bit rushed, because I think if you've seen enough of these movies, you can probably see it's not going to be him. And again, I think that's what makes Scream a little bit better, is they do keep you guessing in Scream more, and it's a more successful murder mystery in that way, I think.
Yeah. But I know, like, Scream is almost in a way, like, even if they are jumping off of Scream, I kind of put Scream in its own little bucket, because it's more of a shoot. What's the word I'm looking for? Satire. It's more of a satire and commentary on horror. So it's kind of funny and comical that there's horror movies that come after that, trying to, like, do the same thing that Scream did, not really fully understanding the commentary or joke behind it. But I feel like that's kind of I can see where this movie would have maybe gotten the influence from Scream, but I also got the impression that they were trying to make it a more it's not like Scream isn't serious, but you know what I mean. It's a non-satirical horror movie for sure. Is what they were intending for this one.
Yeah, this one is played a little bit more straight, and unfortunately, because it might have made it a more entertaining movie if it wasn't. I think there's definitely moments that are kind of so far into the cheese they are quite entertaining. So
yes,
I'll like probably give it a bump for that.
Oh, like the Jennifer Love Hewitt, like, what are you waiting for? And it's like I find it funny that Scary Movie that was making fun of, like, Scream and some other movie, they end up squeezing that scene in there to, like, make fun of it. I'm like, oh man, it's perfect. But yeah, that is definitely very much in the cheese.
Yeah, that feels like one of the early memes, doesn't it? Really,
yeah.
Before meme culture was, so it says something that everyone remembers that scene.
Yeah,
it's quite iconic. So, what did you think about some of the antics of, like, the killer playing mind games? So you had stuff like Helen's hair being cut off in her sleep.
That was
You had
rude.
the crabs once again. Fish in town, crabs in the trunks.
Which that seemed to be like that one is
That
just
was
like
good.
complete bullshit because it's like
Yes. How do
It's
you
like-
clean that up in that
Right,
span of
right.
time?
right.
The trunk looked
Absolutely.
dry.
It's
I'm
like I
calling
would
bull.
better believe, or I would more likely believe that she was hallucinating seeing him in the trunk than the killer being like, "Oh, I put him in here. Okay, let me run out of this forest and quickly take him out."
Yeah.
The friends come back.
Yeah, it's just so.
And
Yeah,
it's like, I don't
too
even
many
understand-
questions, too convoluted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I don't even understand the point of him like removing it because I feel like it'd be traumatizing to the other people too. They're also seeing it. Like, I don't know. It's like they know that they're not crazy, so him like removing the crabs and the body and stuff isn't going to.
I feel like it would have played better in his mode of attack if he had then called the cops with an anonymous tip.
Ooh.
Mm.
Because now she's just driving around with a body in her trunk
Yeah.
and several crabs for whatever reason.
Well, it's like the antics, it goes back and forth because it's like the antics, like the crab scene and stuff, I felt like that was unnecessary. Like if they were going to go for it, I feel like they should have just kept him in there. I feel like it would have been really messy to get the police involved, and it would have been really interesting to see how the characters navigated that. But then also like with the Sarah Michelle Gellar's character having her hair cut, it's like I feel like that one was almost disappointing because they built up the tension. You're like, oh crap, like she's in danger, and he's like, I'm just gonna cut her hair.
Which also, again, is rude. You don't mess with a woman's hair.
But it's like I feel like he
Miss
could have
Universe
done.
as well.
It's like I feel like
Hitting
it was
her
a
where
missed
it hurts.
opportunity for them to do something scarier, or have him do something a little bit more intense.
Oh yeah.
Than like
Absolutely.
chopping off her hair.
He could have just messed with her room and everything around her and wrote on the mirror. He could have planted evidence.
Yeah.
Also, is it one of those like I wondered if it was a small enough town where they just always leave their doors unlocked because he got in the house like
Right.
No,
he got everywhere.
Whatsoever.
He went everywhere.
Yeah,
Nothing
he just,
was
like,
locked.
in
Just
and, like,
lurking all night,
yeah.
waiting in the shadows.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just such a long-winded plan, and it's like I think it's just this excuse of, well, we're not going to have him trying to kill them straight away. We're going to have him play mind games, but yeah, it just feels like there's 100 things he could have done that were a lot more straightforward and less complicated.
Yeah.
like this way, he's risking, getting caught and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's like if you're doing revenge for something that happened, then it's like make it feel like revenge, you know? It's like instead it feels like almost like pranks.
Yes. And then
pranks. That's a good
also
yeah.
there were 2 completely unnecessary deaths.
Yeah. Yes.
There was Max, and then there was the police officer. Completely unnecessary.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were watching it on stream the other night, and Cindy, who was watching it, said the same thing. Whereas I think with Scream, at least there is a logic to the order of the death, and there's a certain pattern, isn't there, with people connected. And I mean, I guess if another character gets in the way, Ghostface is probably going to take him out because it's in his interest.
That makes sense, yeah.
But in general, Ghostface has a pattern that he tends to, he or she sticks to. But this doesn't seem to be so much of a pattern with this kill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more like indiscriminate kills for.
Sorry. There were 3. Now that I think about it, 3 unnecessary deaths. The sister died too.
Right. But I mean, that was technically while he was trying to get the.
She was on the opposite side of the store, locking the door. Like,
yeah, but to your point, Keith, it's like Scream. No matter who the killer is, they are like very like methodical about it and very like well thought out. And I feel like this would have been the perfect movie to be able to play upon that. But instead, they really did lean into just the diverting expectations, and then the actual kills didn't really make as much sense. And then them, playing around with their psychology to, get them freaked out. It just, it makes him seem like a crazy, mischievous man.
Yeah. But he keeps citing revenge as his reason, and it just doesn't make that much sense when he killed 3 people that had no connection whatsoever to
right. Like if you're going to do revenge, like you're going to mess them up psychologically. You're going to make damn well sure that like the circumstances are in your favor to be able to kill them. And it just
and don't bring in random people.
Best shots in the movie is the scene with the sister, where the hook reflects in her glasses. I really like that shot, and you just see the terror in her face. And that actress is quite good. Like you don't get a lot of a sense of the dynamic between her and Helen. You get a bit more of that in the book, but in the film you don't get a lot. But I mean, that actress, I think, does a pretty good job, and that was one of the better horror moments I thought in the movie.
Yeah. Though I don't know if you can stop me if I'm jumping too much, but can I talk about how dumb the ending is right quick?
I was going to ask you what you both thought of like a cliffhanger style ending. Let's have it.
I hate it. I hate why have the writing on the mirror, whatever, but then just cut to black. Him jumping through the glass.
That was very
stupid. Them just having the writing on the glass has the same effect of like, oh, maybe he's not actually dead. We're maybe going to do a sequel.
And the ending also implies that he then kills her. Where do you go from that?
Well, exactly.
Right.
Like, no, just leave the writing there and then just fade to black. It's scarier that way.
Right. It's like
now you don't know what it is.
It's like if they're implying that they killed off the main, the final girl, we want to watch that. We want to see like what sort of like obstacles or whatever she had to like try and go through or what have you. It's like you don't save the final battle essentially for off screen. Like that's not fair to the viewers.
I don't mind it too much. I guess maybe just because I'm used to it in horror movies.
They do it a lot.
That
last
much.
final gut punch. I mean, it's probably the only scene I would change from Nightmare on Elm Street is that very final. Yeah. Everything else in that movie I pretty much love, but that's the one thing I might change. And I think I heard the studio put that in as
I think so too.
Yeah, they were too nervous about and so they want it to end that way.
But
it seems like studios do that a lot though, where they're like, "Oh, we can't have it just
they really
end
do
happily," or
even if they're like, "Oh, we want to make sure that people know that we're planning on a sequel or leaving it open for a sequel," you already kind of sort of implied that he could have gotten away, minus a hand, of course, but he could have lived. They didn't find a body yet, and they never mentioned finding a body.
Right. But they could have done like Halloween does.
Yeah. You didn't necessarily need anything else. So I just feel like it was unnecessary. And even if they have to continue with that scene, then at least just cut right after showing the words on the mirror.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need.
Yep.
Yes, so a little more. Yeah, a little bit more restraint. I guess they were going for more of a statement. I'm sort of in two minds because I don't really know if they partly did it in case they didn't get a sequel. Like it could just be, okay, that's the gut punch, she probably dies, and they just leave it open in case they didn't get a sequel, or if it's like, I mean, obviously they were hoping for a sequel because that's the way these things work, but
it was just the last unnecessary jump scare.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, so many movies, like I feel like it's very rare nowadays to have a horror movie end without like some sort of like jump at the end. And so we're just like so sick of it now that
Yeah.
we're just like
so overdone.
throw it out, throw it out.
Yeah.
Enough.
I mean, it's probably a taste thing, you know. I think some audiences take to them more than you know. Some people think, you know, it's nice in a horror movie to have one last sort of gut punch, but
Well, yeah, but then again, just have the words there, because when you see the words, your stomach just drops and you know he's still alive. He's still out there. I don't know where, but he was just in here when she was alone and vulnerable. But then you don't need the jump scare of him coming out of the mirror. And what is even behind that mirror that he's able to jump through it?
I don't know. Wasn't
Just
it like
logistically?
Yeah, but wasn't it the shower glass? I didn't think it was a mirror. I thought it was like a shower, wasn't it? 'Cause doesn't he jump through the shower at her?
No, I thought it was a mirror over
Was it
a
a
sink.
mirror? Okay, it looked like it could have been a shower because she was sort of.
Well, now I'm trying. It wasn't over a sink because it was like I thought it was like a full length.
Do I need to look it up? I can pull it up.
Well, she went over to the sink, didn't she? She just got.
Yeah, I thought she did.
And that's funny. If she'd got out the shower, surely she would have seen him in there. I don't know. It's one of those you can't really apply too much.
So that means that he went around, wrote the letters, and then went back around and was like
yes.
I'm just gonna wait until I think she's looking at the mirror.
I need to do something fiendish so we can have another movie.
Like what he did for the rest of the movie wasn't fiendish enough.
But not open all at the same time, where you're like, I don't know if there's closure, but like I still sense that there's like danger. Like I feel like that's one of the best ways to end a horror movie, because it's like you just don't know.
Yeah.
And then that way, you know, if that's the only movie in that franchise that ever comes out, then you're good. But then it also gives you the opportunity for like more sequels and stuff.
Sure.
So it was the shower door.
Okay, it's the shower door.
Thought
it was the shower door.
Yeah,
you were right.
Thank you. It happens once in a blue moon, so I'll take the victory.
I'm not used to the like college type showers having glass doors.
Yeah.
But
yeah. There you go.
I will say, like, the positive thing about this movie, though, that I was paying extra attention to this time was it was really interesting to see how each of the characters handled the trauma of that night.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like Jennifer Love Hewitt's character took it really hard. She definitely was very much like still processing it, even though it had been like a year. The other ones were all like processing it slightly differently, because they could have just been lazy and been like, no, we're just going to have them keep it as a secret. They're going to be troubled that they're keeping a secret, but that's like the extent of it. But I feel like they actually made a decent effort to have them react in a way that was true to the type of character that they were showing.
Yeah, that's fine. And I will just say, we won't spoil what it is exactly, but when we get on to the next movie, there's another example of that kind of cliffhanger in the next movie.
Okay.
But we'll get to that once we get to that. He literally jumps out at her and she doesn't really have a lot of time to like get away from him. Like, yeah, it does seem pretty clear cut that she might.
True. Yeah.
Might be toast. But there you go. Okay. Well, 4.5. That's my rating, basically. So I'll give it a little bit of bump because there is some entertainment to be had with it, but pretty forgettable movie apart from a few things.
I do agree with that aspect where it's like it is one of those movies where until someone actually brings it up, I kind of forget about it in the background. There's just so many other like stronger, more memorable horror movies that it's like this one does fade into the background for sure, even though it's considered like a classic.
Yeah. Like I would say for me, it's nostalgia for it. That is a thing because I did grow up watching it and probably had it on VHS or at least taped it onto VHS off the TV. So
that's how I first saw it, was like from Blockbuster on a VHS.
I don't remember how I saw it, if it was on TV or if I got it from Blockbuster. But yeah, it was one of the first horror movies I ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen the sequel?
I have.
Yeah,
I have
okay.
not.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that because I think the sequel leans even more into guilty pleasure territory.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. We'll get to it. I think it's a worse movie, but I think it might be a more entertaining movie for sort of how so bad it's good type thing. Everyone, let us know what you think of the movie in the comments. Like and subscribe as always. Do a little bit on the novel and the author of the novel because I have been reading the novel a little bit, and it's a funny one because it was written in the 1970s, so it's a young adult novel, but a young adult novel in the 1970s is very different from today. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a lot less raunchy than today, and like, yeah, it's sort of funny. It's just a more old-fashioned, traditional type values, like the way the characters are written, and yeah, like I think it's quite a well-written novel for what it is, like for the right audience. I'm not really the right audience, but I think for like the target audience, it's it's quite well written, it's quite well paced. You definitely have some like melodrama like they do in the movie. Lines like there's this guy who comes around like the next day who like Helen's been seeing like casually, and he's kind of say, I just came round to see if you made it through the night. That kind of line. Like, chill out, dude. It's like a simple
phrase better.
yeah. And Helen's talking about how I'll never sleep again after this night, and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a very different feel because it is treated like this is more traditional values. There's more talk a bit about like the future, about do you settle down, do you go to college, like that kind of thing. I would say they play a little bit more into the murder mystery aspect, and there's a little bit more dilemma over what they should actually do on that night. You definitely get a bit more into that. A couple of tidbits about the author is that, well, she wrote her first, Lois Duncan is the author, she wrote her first novel age 20, and says she has always written for teenagers or young adults, and that's because she loves the sensitivity and vulnerability of that age group. And few more facts. Duncan is best known for her psychological novels and saying that every sentence is there for a reason. I can't imagine writing a book without knowing exactly where it's going to end. And this is the most interesting part, actually. So she did a novel called Who Killed My Daughter? And that is actually a true story about her search for the murder of her own daughter, her 18-year-old daughter, Caitlin. And a little bit of the background, although police called Caitlin's murder a random shooting, Duncan's own investigation took her into the world of ESP, extrasensory perception, and the underworld of Vietnamese gangs. So she's certain it was not a random killing, even though she doesn't have any evidence, concrete evidence, to back that stuff up. So that was just another little tidbit I thought was worth adding as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, quite an interesting person by the sounds of it. So yeah, that's the novel. It's and it's one of these. It's sort of, they make it really easy for a young audience to like it's one of these you almost find in schools where it's got like footnotes that explain what certain phrases mean, and it's got like illustrated pictures of certain things. So
okay.
Yeah.
How would you say that compares to the movie as far as like storyline? Is it one of those cases where the movie essentially took it by like name and very basic premise and then like ran with it, or would you say that like the book and the movie are kind of roughly on the same par?
No, I think they are quite different, because I think the author has said she wasn't so happy with the movie, and I guess it's just that. Yeah, I guess it's just that thing of they wanted to try and recreate what Scream did, so because really the novel isn't so much of a horror story. Like, it does feel a little bit more of a drama. Like,
Gotcha.
It is a little bit soapy, but in quite a different way to what the film is. So, yeah, I've not read all of it, but I would say from what I've read, it's probably quite different.
Okay.
So, it's a short novel, so it's a very easy sort of read. So, yeah. So now, before we leave, I will give Alyssa her latest opportunity to showcase her promotional skills.
Oh no. My lacking of promotional skills.
So it's take 2.
Oh no.
So we have a YouTube channel that's HorrorMovieTea, where we review horror movies and we play scary games, and then I'll also like upload clips of like funny things that happen or like memorable moments. And poor Jess here has to like I'm just the wild ride that Jess hangs on to.
Here for the plot. Long since boarded the crazy train. I'm just seeing where it goes.
Yeah, but so if you like shenanigans, then HorrorMovieTea's got your back.
That's great. That's great.
Oh god.
Do you want to talk about any content you've got coming up? You could mention your live streams, because that's
yeah. Well, okay. So I don't know when this video is coming out, but we do have a live stream on Sunday. But we do a live stream once every Saturday, and then our upcoming
that once a month. Yes. On the first Saturday of the month, not every Saturday.
Oh, I said every Saturday. Oopsie, yeah. But yeah, the next review we have coming out is The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. So
okay.
that one will be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything to add, Jess? Or
no, it just sometimes it physically hurts.
You're like, there's no way
she goes off
anything that she just said.
Yeah, when she goes off book, it physically hurts sometimes.
This is why we have to have a script, Keith.
There's a reason. There's a reason we have a script for the intro and outro.
But with us both having ADHD, but like different levels different levels of like crazy, and it's like it's a nut. we're just always an interesting time.
There's always shenanigans, always.
Yeah. Wow. And that's why they will be back on the channel.
Yeah.
At some point, because I can't get enough of those shenanigans.
Well, we're glad.
We'll be back.
We're glad we haven't scared you away.
So I will put the link in the description. As always, go and check out their stuff, support their stuff, and we will be back at some point soon with another horror review on this channel. So thanks everyone. Take care. And there's only one way to end. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Good night, everyone.
So the boy and girl are making out, right? When they hear over the radio that this lunatic killer's escaped from an insane asylum.
That's not the way it goes. The boy goes for help, and the girl stays in the car, and she hears this, like, scratching sound.
No, he's been decapitated. No, he was gutted with a hook.
What's wrong with you? Watch out!
Oh my God.
You think he's dead?
We can't just leave him here.
Oh, tell me, little Miss Prelaw, what's the charge for manslaughter? We make a pact. Right here and now we take this to our grave.
For the last year, 4 friends have kept a secret.
Are you on drugs?
No.
Well, then what is wrong? I've had a rough year.
But not all secrets stay buried.
Somebody sent this to me. Oh my God.
Someone knows.
I know what you did last summer. Ooh.
What they thought would be a new beginning
Toast to us.
is becoming a dead end.
Somebody tried to kill you last night. We have to go to the police.
If he wanted me dead, he could have done it.
And the mistake they made
It was an accident.
There was no accident. It was murder.
What if he's still alive? Hey!
What are you doing here?
is coming back to haunt them.
Oh my gosh.
He's after me too. I got a letter. I got run over. Helen gets her hair chopped off. Julie gets a body in a trunk and you get a letter? That's balanced.
She's waiting for us to unravel.
The wait is over.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
I know what you did last summer.